Well, hey dudes, and welcome back to another weird and wacky episode of World Building. I am he, the host, Model Monstrosities. So in this video, I wanted to make some scatter terrain stuff. Now I've got a bit of a stuffy nose, so it might be a little difficult to understand me, like what I'm saying. That was exaggerated a bit. But I'm going to make some scatter terrain stuff that's supposed to be like scatter terrain stuff for building them when I make, well, planning to make at the time. And it's gonna be, I'm not sure, remember, actually, I get to make the building. So, this is a little plastic crate that was 3D printed. I didn't 3D print it, I just bought it. But, I want to mold it. So I got out some paper stuff there, and got out this, I think it's, like, called silicone rubber, and that little container there, and added some little blobs of clay onto the bottom of the crate. Then I stuck it to the bottom of the container, and so just started pouring out the silicone rubber. And then I poured it into the container. This was my first successful silicone rubber mold. The one before it was unsuccessful. Now I wanted to make sure I scraped it out pretty good because it's not exactly cheap stuff, and I don't really like spending a lot of money on some of this stuff. I try to be cheap. So I used some pressurized air to get it out. I'm not sure how the heck I would have gotten it out otherwise. Now it looks like the seal with the clay wasn't perfect, but it worked pretty well. It was a pretty darn nice mold. And yes, as it says there, moldable thermoplastic. Moldable thermoplastic is plastic that when you put in hot water, as there is some hot water there, it turns sort of clear and gooey and tacky, like you see there. So I stuff some of that into the mold, and when it cools, it should turn white again. Getting it out of the mold, and there it is. I pulled it out a tad early. So I didn't really want to show you guys me making them every single time. Like, you know, footage of me making it every single time. So I didn't. But anyway, after I made all those, I picked through some Final Faction bits from the dollar store. Glued some together. Here I was cutting apart a little wooden bead. Actually, it was kind of a big wooden bead. And turned them into weird, I don't know, like power holder things or something. I don't really know. There I was getting some baking powder after adding some super glue, because baking powder speeds up super glue drying and seems to strengthen it as well. Anyway, here's some of them wooden beads. They were at the thrift store. Yeah, super duper cheap there, if you can find them. And then I made some propane tanks. Now, how I made these propane tanks? Well, obviously not actual propane tanks, but I chopped a little plastic bead in half and then glued it to the top, and that was it. Pretty simple, and it looked pretty good too. Some of the Final Faction bits I used, you know, the ones from the dollar store, I washed them off with hot water and some soap to get the mold release off. Now this was not something that I thought of. This was something that Attention Span Labs told me of, and I tried it out, and it worked quite well. The paint had been like coming off as I was painting it, kind of like curling up a little bit, so that kind of sucked. So the treatment worked really well. So thank you, Attention Span Labs, for telling me about that. It did work quite well, I will say, yes. A lot of plastic. It feels pretty kind of greasy, and for a while I thought it was just how the plastic was, but after Attention Span Labs told me about that, I realized this is mold release. Like, I could feel it even after I had touched them. It was the mold release. I think that's like one of the main things
that like prevents plastic from sticking to things. And it may stick for a little while, but after you touch it, it like falls off right away because the super glue is sticking to the mold release and not the plastic. Another treatment would be to wave a flame over it. I think that like it like burns away the mold release or something. Not 100% sure. The flame treatment was a technique I learned from the Craftsman from watching his videos. Anyway, here I was dry brushing the crates, which looked really, really good when I was done. This was just some silver paint. I used some like brighter silver paint and mixed it with black paint, which made for a nice kind of worn look. I also painted them black before I did that, which makes for an even better look. Painting black over, or under actually, painting the black mixed with silver paint over the black. Yeah. Where's the stop recording button? As I was saying, you paint it black as a base coat, then you mix black paint with silver paint, probably less black paint than silver paint, or it might just end up being glittery black, in a thin layer over the black paint, which makes for a worn look. A look I've been doing for a while. But after I had painted these, that's a rocket thing there or something, from the dollar store. After I had painted most of these, I mixed some, like, yellowy paint, maybe with a little bit of red paint, in with some water, and I had printed out a few little signs and things, but those signs, see that, yeah, there it is, only one on that piece of paper. And I believe that would be a build completed. No end shots. Because, you know.